Elliot Easton from the Cars was supposed to jam with them. He didn't turn up because he wasn't feeling well. But the guests were Phil X, best known now for, of course, playing in Bon Jovi, and Kenny Aronoff, drummer extraordinaire, were some of the special guests. The other big guest that was not pre-announced but did turn up and play was none other than Gene Simmons. Now, if you were listening last week to the show, somebody called in and said, do you think there's a chance you'll have Gene Simmons on the show, given that Kiss has kind of ended and maybe some of the whatever has gone on is dissipated and Gene would be open to coming on the show and yada, yada, yada. And I said to that caller last week that I would be likely seeing Gene Simmons very soon and would feel that out. The reason why I said that is because I knew that Gene Simmons was going to play last night. I could not say it publicly because they didn't want it out. They wanted it to be a surprise. Now, the event was sold out either way in advance, but Gene was supposed to be the big surprise. So I couldn't say where I was going to see Gene, but I knew Gene was going to turn up to this thing. And in fact, he did. So as I hosted the evening, once Chevy Metal got up there and started playing, it was maybe like 3-4 songs into their set that Gene walked in. And I was, busy doing what I was there to do, hosting. There were auctions. There were silent auctions. Again, it was a charity event. So I was doing what I was asked to do for that. But Gene, when Brent went on stage, he told me, keep an eye out. Gene's coming. I'm going to be on stage playing. We got a room for him in the back, and he's going to just get up and do Deuce at the end of the night. But he goes, let me know when he gets here. So Gene walked in maybe 3 songs into the set, probably about an hour before he was scheduled to go up. And during a break in between the 2 songs, I went up and told Brent that Gene had arrived, and he said, okay, see what he wants to do. And with that, a woman named Mary Kuznier, who works also on the Wendy Dio charity that I know, came over to me, and she's like, Mary's a trip. She's funny. She's awesome. And she's like, Gene's here, and he says he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know anybody. He doesn't know what's going on. He goes, can you go talk? I said, well, do you want me to go talk to him? And she said, yeah. She said, because he's telling me he doesn't know what he's doing and if he's playing, and he's just back there. And I go, oh, okay. I said, I thought it was all sorted, but I'll go talk to him. So with that, I went back into the room that they had Gene kind of sequestered in, and I saw him, and I extended my hand, and I said, hey, Gene, and instead of shaking my hand, he was fist bumping. Some people do that now. Instead of shaking, they default to fist bump. Fine. So I did the fist bump, and I said, hey, Gene, I said, Brent's on stage, and I said, Mary told me to come back because you didn't know what was going on and if you were playing. And he just looks at me and he goes, who's Mary? And I said, Mary's the woman that was just in here who told me to come back. And I said, she said that, you needed some instruction as to what was going on. And he goes, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I said, okay. I said, well, you're playing. He goes, yeah, I guess. That's how he was answering me. And I go, well, you're going to be doing Deuce. You know that, right? Because she told me you said you didn't know anything. Okay, it's all good. And I said, well, one other thing. I said, Deuce is like the second to last song. They just started. Brent told me if you'd like, we could shuffle the songs if you want to get on earlier so you can get out earlier. And he goes, no, it's fine. Everything's fine. Just leave it as it is. And then he says to me, I thought he said to me, who are you? And I just looked at him. I go, who am I? You don't know who I am? I mean, remember, I've interviewed this guy, known this guy a long time, even though we're not in touch. I go, you're asking me who I said, Gene, you don't know who I am? He goes, no. He goes, I mean, what are you doing here? He didn't say it in a nasty way. He just was, in that authoritative, like, and I said, I'm hosting this. And he goes, oh. I said, Brent, who's in your band now, is one of my best friends. And he goes, oh, sorry to hear that. Just Gene in Gene mode, with like kind of a guard up, if you will. And again, I don't need to overly engage with anybody. I don't need everybody to be my friend. I've got 98% of people who are musicians are, more than generous and kind to me and appreciative of me. So I don't need the validation from it. I mean, I appreciate it. I really, it's all good. So I'm like, okay. I said, so you're good. He goes, yeah. He said, so you're hosting this? I said, yeah. He said, I'm helping out. And he goes, I don't need or want any intro of any kind. I will just walk out. No problem. And with that, I left. And that was the extent of my interaction with Gene. So, although it wasn't, what's the word? It wasn't rude, I guess, in any way. It was not exactly like, hey, Eddie, how you doing, man? What's going on? Talk to me. How are you? Nothing like that. It was just, oh, you're hosting this? Okay. Yes, I'm fine. Fist bump. And that was it. So, yeah, the idea of me engaging beyond that, and especially with when I had a lot going on, and the vibe of like, hey, Gene, why don't you come on the radio show, was really, I didn't feel was, the time, place, or the mode. And I really didn't think it was going to be, something that was overly well received. Now, Gene has told me countless times that he does not have any problem with me at all. But as I've mentioned many times, there is a political aspect in that band with his partner, who I've actually engaged with a couple times without an issue. But I can't deal with the dynamics with some situations. So I'm me, I do what I do. My doors will open to everybody, but it just didn't seem like it was the time, place, or the vibe to be like, hey, Kiss is done. You want to come on the show? And I had other shit to do, honestly. So that was the extent of it. And I also took from it that there was, when he made a point of saying when I told him I was the MC, that he did not want an intro. And I took that he made a point of just, not that he restated it, but he told me that clearly. Now, I don't think, I may be reading into this more, but I don't think I am. I suspect he did not want an intro. Because number one, I wouldn't have been the one who would intro him, because within the body of the band's set, the bass player, Wiley, was bringing up the special guests. I was running around doing auction stuff. I was coming out only a few times during the main performance. But I bet he was concerned that if I was on stage bringing him out, of course, you've probably seen online, there's a billion videos of him going out and doing that one song already from last night, that he probably was worried about the affiliation of seeing me intro him and, how Paul responds to that. What he may or may not know is I've introed Paul twice in the last 2 years. I've brought Paul on stage twice in the last 2 years. One time I did an auction with him, and the other time I brought him on stage at a Chris Angel charity that I host every December. So I don't even know if Gene knows that, because again, I don't know how much him and Paul talk and what their dynamic is these days. But, there was always a, thing about that. It all sounds so silly, I know. But I'm telling you, you guys wouldn't even begin to know the dynamic, the ego, the politics, and some of the stuff that goes on with some of these bands. You wouldn't, in your wildest dreams, begin to imagine. So again, man, I'm a high road guy. Whatever, it's all good. They will always be an immensely important band to me, as you guys know. I don't need to be friends with every person in every band. I have plenty of people I just have working relationships with. That's fine. And there's a couple that, because of whatever reason, I'm not a guy they want to work with. And that's all good too.